everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I'm a part-time reseller on Poshmark, and today I'm going to talk about things that I never do on Poshmark and maybe you shouldn't either. So if you've been around my channel for a while, you know that I always recommend to never decline offers. And I still see a lot of people do, and I still see a lot of people that, take it very personal when they get that lowball offer, or, they just want to decline right away because it makes themselves feel better. But at the end of the day, it's hurting you in the algorithm, and it's preventing your listing from at least having a chance of selling. And I've talked about in a prior video, but about 30% of all lowball offers do result in a pretty good sale when they are countered. And so I always just think it's worth taking that chance of sending a counter offer. What's the worst that they could do? They don't answer you. I don't think that's anything bad, and I think it's worth sending out that counter offer. And at the end of the day, yeah, there's going to be people that aren't going to want to counter, or they're not going to want to meet in the middle, and they're just going to want to lowball you, and so be it. But I don't think you need to get offended by it, and I don't think you need to decline the offer. I personally find that a little bit rude as, as a buyer and a seller myself. If someone declined my offer, I would feel a little bit like, okay, what did I do to hurt your feelings? And so I just feel like you don't need to do that. I think it's just one of those things where it doesn't really look good, and it actually prevents your listing from selling. And not to mention that the more you do it, I think the more that the algorithm, so to say, punishes you. So yeah, it's just better to not do it to begin with. The next thing that I never do on Poshmark, and you should not either, is ignore any potential buyer if they ask you a question about the item. So this is another controversial one because a lot of people get annoyed when people leave comments, or they don't want to be bothered to have to answer questions, or they just don't answer questions at all. And I have actually been in a scenario where I was trying to purchase something and a buyer would not answer me, and so I wasn't able to purchase the item from them. And while at the same time it doesn't matter because I was able to find it elsewhere, it's just more frustrating because why would you have it listed if you don't want to answer questions? And some people are like, well, I'm going to answer the questions and then they're probably not going to purchase, because that has happened. And while that is true, I've had that happen myself, where I've gone out of my way to put measurements and, help somebody determine if it was going to work for them, and then they just kind of ghosted me. They stopped answering from there. Majority of the time, if you give good measurements or you give them what they're looking for, they will purchase. And if they're asking you a question, it's probably because they're interested. They're probably not just doing it to be annoying. While sometimes I think they are doing that, I don't think that's really what their point is. So I think it's important to always answer a potential buyer. You never know when it's going to lead to a sale. Okay, the third thing I never do on Poshmark is sugarcoat a listing that has a flaw. So I see a lot of people that try and hide if a listing has a flaw, or they try and, sugarcoat it, where they're like, it's not really that bad, it's just a small little dot, and then it ends up being this bigger thing, or it's a small little hole and then it ends up tearing the whole top apart. So I think it's important to be very, very upfront with those flaws. Make sure you're showing it very, very detailed in pictures. Even use the video if you need to show the flaw, and make sure that you not only show the flaw in the pictures, but also talk about it in the description. Make it extremely clear that there is a flaw, because you don't want to get into a situation where they claim that they didn't know. And while they can still try and open a case on you saying that there was a flaw, you will have your pictures and your description to back you up. So it's important to be very clear about that, and you don't want to mislead someone if the item is actually in worse condition than you thought it was, or that you listed it as. Make sure you're upfront and honest with the flaws, and discount it if you have to, because it's not fair for someone to pay full price or a high price for something that is really, really majorly flawed. So have that and use that as consideration when you are doing your listing. Okay, the fourth thing that you should never do on Poshmark is take something off the platform. So when people email, or when the people ask you to email them or text them, or send them an email with more measurements and details on the listing, never do that. It's always a scam, and it's just important to not do that because you're not protected by Posh Protect. And if you take something off platform and you get scammed out of your money, Poshmark cannot protect you. And most of the time, if they're taking it off platform, they are trying to, catch you and scam you. And this does tend to happen when you list a new item. I'm not really sure why this happens, but I find that when I list a new item, I always get that scammer that immediately comments saying, "Can you please email me?" And I've seen a lot of people that ask like, is that legit? Should I do it? And I've seen people actually email them and then they ask for like money and stuff. So I always just recommend reporting the account and reporting or flagging the comment as spam, and the comment will be removed from your listing. But never take anything off platform. It's extremely dangerous and it's probably a scam. And the final thing that I cannot stress enough, especially going into those summer months, is never go a day without sharing your closet. You need to be sharing your closet so much throughout the day. In fact, I wouldn't even go more than like an hour or two without sharing your closet. But I know not everyone can share, that often throughout the day. So I just highly recommend not going a day without sharing. I do see people that are not active, and it's different if you're on vacation or something like that. But if you're just genuinely trying to sell your listings and you're not sharing them, and it's been weeks, days, months since you last shared them, they are not getting the eyes and attention that you think they are, and they are not showing up in those relevant search feeds. Every time you share your listing, it will show up to the top of that relevant search feed because it's recently been shared. So if you're not sharing them, they're going to be way at the bottom. All the other people are going to be sharing, and it's going to be their listings are going to be above yours. So it's important to be sharing throughout the day, sharing often, and the sales will come from that. So I hope this video gave you some ideas on things that you should not be doing on Poshmark. And I think, I never do any of these, and neither should you. These are things that, again, are preventing you from making more sales and preventing your listings from selling, and also just are bad customer service. And you're representing your own business at the end of the day, and these are easy ways to, have a good business and be successful. And if you aren't doing these things and you're making it really hard for someone to want to purchase from your closet, or you're not answering them, and whatever the case may be, you're only hurting yourself. And at the end of the day, if you want to make more sales, you need to not do these things. And so I highly recommend not doing these things, and you would see actually how much of an impact it has on your closet and how much more sales you're actually going to make. Let me know if you want to see another video on more things that I never do on Poshmark and maybe that you shouldn't as well. I probably have a bunch of more of these, in my head that I could come up with that I think could also be helpful as well. So let me know in the comments if you'd want to see another list of these things, and let me know down below if you are, what you're doing to gear up for those summer months, and, let me know if you're doing anything different to, really try and boost your sales. Because me personally, I'm going to start really listing more come June, and I'm really going to, be ramping up my listings so that way I can avoid any potential for the summer slowdown. If you want to see another video on what I think is the biggest problem with Poshmark and something that really, really bothers me as a seller and a buyer, you can click right here. If you want to see another video on ways that you can get consistent sales to really help your closet have success, you can click right here. But until next time, I will see you then.